Did you know that the health and bounty of your cherry tree largely depend on when you prune it? Stay tuned to uncover the secrets of mastering cherry tree pruning. Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this today. Cherry trees are just a stunning, incredibly rewarding addition to any garden, but they have some very specific quirks. If you want a thriving tree that's literally bursting with fruit, you can't just treat it like an apple or a pear tree. It's a whole different ballgame. So let's start with the million-dollar question. When is the right time to actually prune a cherry tree? If you're like most folks, you might assume winter is the time to grab your shears. After all, that's what practically every general pruning guide tells us, right? Well, actually, scratch that. We need to shatter that dangerous myth right now. Pruning a cherry tree in the middle of winter can actually invite deadly diseases. It is literally the single most reliable way to accidentally kill your tree. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. Why timing is everything. 2. Essential tools and prep. 3. How to prune correctly. 4. Sweet versus sour cherries. And 5. Post-pruning tree care. Let's dive right in. Section 1. Why timing is everything. The deadly threats of winter pruning. You see, cherry trees are the major exception to your standard winter fruit tree pruning rules. It's a really stark contrast between the two seasons. In winter, you are facing a super high disease risk because fungal spores are highly active in those cold, wet conditions. But in summer? Well, in summer, wounds heal rapidly in the dry weather, giving you the absolute lowest disease pressure. For cherry trees, you absolutely must prune in mid to late summer, typically July or August, right after you've harvested the fruit. Summer pruning allows the wounds to heal quickly, long before that cold, wet, spore-heavy season even begins. Because this is exactly what we are trying to avoid: bacterial canker. It's a severe disease caused by bacteria that absolutely thrive in cold, wet conditions. If you create an open pruning wound in the dead of winter, these bacteria just walk right into the tree. They cause sunken bark, this oozing, amber-colored gum, and in severe cases, they can kill up to 90% of the tree's buds. No way you want that. There's also silverleaf disease, which is a fungal infection that enters through winter wounds and creates a weird silvery sheen on the leaves. And once that's established, there is no chemical cure. So the crucial takeaway here: summer pruning isn't just a preference, it is a vital preventative measure. Section 2. Essential tools and prep. Gearing up for a safe cut. Okay, so getting the timing right is really only half the battle. Here is your essential toolkit. You're going to need sharp bypass shears for the precise, fine work, a good pruning saw for branches that are just too thick for those shears, and a pole pruner or a ladder for those hard-to-reach high branches. But listen up. The absolute most important item in this entire toolkit is that last point: sterilizing solution. Using dull or dirty blades frays the wood and is basically an open invitation for infection. Sharp, completely clean tools guarantee neat cuts and heavily minimize those risks. Let's look at the actual workflow for your tools. Step 1, clean the dirt off before you even start. Step 2, sterilize those blades with a 10% bleach solution or 70% rubbing alcohol. And hey, if you are dealing with a tree you even suspect might have an infection, you need to sterilize between every single cut. Seriously, every cut. And definitely always between different trees. Step 3, clean and completely dry your tools when you're done so they don't rust out on you. Tool hygiene honestly matters more for cherries than almost any other fruit tree out there. Section 3, how to prune correctly. Making the right cuts. All right, you've patiently waited until summer, your tools are sterilized, and you are ready. Where do you start? Always begin by removing the 3 Ds: any dead, diseased, or damaged wood. Get that out of there. Once that's clear, look for branches that are crossing or rubbing against each other, as well as any branches growing inwards toward the center trunk. You'll also want to snip off those rapid-growing, totally vertical water shoots, because they just drain the tree's energy without bearing any fruit. Your ultimate goal here is to create an open structure that acts kind of like a giant funnel, allowing glorious sunlight and fresh air to penetrate deep down into the canopy. That's what ripens the fruit and dries out any trapped moisture that could harbor fungus. Now here is a fascinating expert tip that completely goes against what you probably know about pruning other trees. Listen to this quote from our sources. Always leave a stump of at least 7 centimeters in length. Wow, right? When you prune an apple tree, you usually cut perfectly flush to the branch collar. But cherry trees are totally different. They rarely heal their wounds fully. The wounds usually just dry up and die back a little bit. If you cut completely flush, that dieback can penetrate straight into the main trunk. So definitely leave that 7-centimeter stump. Section 4. Sweet versus sour cherries. Knowing your specific tree. Because, not all cherry trees are created equal. Your pruning strategy absolutely has to adapt to the specific variety sitting right there in your backyard. There are fundamental differences in how these trees grow. For instance, sweet cherries fruit on 2-year-old and older wood, meaning they really only require light pruning to maintain a nice, tall, upright central leader structure. They also prefer mild climates, like USDA zones 5 through 7. Sour cherries, on the other hand, fruit on 1-year-old new wood. They need heavier annual replacement pruning to keep their bushy, open funnel shape going strong. And they are generally a lot more cold-hardy and tolerant. Basically, know your tree, know your cut. Section 5. Post-pruning tree care. Ensuring tree recovery and fruitfulness. Just because you finally put the shears away doesn't mean your job is completely done. Here is your actionable aftercare checklist. First things first, keep a really close eye on those cuts for a few weeks. If you see any of that amber gum oozing out or you spot silvery leaves, you gotta act fast and prune back to clean wood immediately. Now, while some experts recommend applying wound sealants, others argue that the summer heat heals the wounds naturally anyway, but either way, diligent monitoring is definitely your best defense. Also, make sure to water the tree deeply during dry summer periods to help it recover, and apply mulch around the base to lock in that precious moisture. Oh, and avoid heavy nitrogen fertilizers. Those just push out massive amounts of leafy green growth at the expense of your fruit. And crucially, clean up all the fallen leaves and pruned wood. Do not leave them sitting under the tree because they can harbor all those nasty spores we talked about earlier. So, to wrap things up today, remember the golden rules we covered. Always prune in the heat of summer, use meticulously sterilized tools, make sure to leave that 7-centimeter stump, and adjust your pruning style depending on whether your tree is sweet or sour. Following this roadmap is absolutely going to set you up for an incredibly rewarding harvest. Please note, this explainer is intended for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional advice. Always consult with a licensed arborist or horticulturist for personalized guidance tailored to your specific situation. So, as you look out at your garden today, ask yourself, is your cherry tree ready for the summer cut that could double your next harvest? Thanks so much for joining me, and happy gardening.